The ocean is vast, endless, and full of secrets waiting beneath the rolling waves of time. Close your eyes and hear the rhythm of water touching the shores with a gentle embrace. Imagine sunlight streaming down through blue depths, scattering like liquid gold across coral gardens. There is a hush, a silence that carries stories older than any kingdom built on the land. In that silence, the sea speaks, telling tales of gods, spirits, and the whispers of eternity. Among them is Poseidon, not only lord of storms, but also guardian of balance within the deep. He is strength, but also stillness, a presence that guides the tides and shapes the ocean's breath. Yet Poseidon does not dwell alone in this endless realm of pearls, kelp, and glowing waters. There are the nymphs, the gentle daughters of the sea, each spirit woven from beauty and song. They move with the waves, playful as dolphins, tender as the moon's reflection on calm waters. Together, they form a harmony, a chorus that fills the ocean with wonder instead of silence. And tonight, we journey beneath the surface to listen, to follow their story, and to remember. The sea stretches wide, farther than the eye can follow, a shimmering expanse of blue upon blue. Each wave rolls with patience, carrying secrets that have lived for countless ages beyond memory. The surface shines like glass beneath the sun, but beneath lies a world untold and eternal. There is no edge, no corner, only a vast kingdom of currents, tides, and mysteries unspoken. The sea is both quiet and alive, its voice gentle yet steady, like a timeless hymn of nature. Fish dart through sparkling shoals, their silver bodies flashing like stars against the deep blue. Coral forests rise like cities of color, home to creatures small and hidden among twisting roots. Turtles glide with unhurried grace, their shells carrying wisdom as ancient as the waves. Every ripple speaks, and every current carries a story older than stone or sand. This is the realm where silence breathes with meaning, and sound travels like whispers of song. It is not just water, but memory, holding the laughter of winds and the pull of the moon. When the tide retreats, it leaves trails of foam, each bubble a reminder of journeys unseen. When the tide returns, it gathers dreams from the deep, offering them to the waiting shore. The sea is a cradle, a mirror, a voice, and a guide to those who dare to listen. It welcomes with calm, but it also tests with storms, reminding all of its eternal balance. There are nights when stars float upon the surface, reflected like lanterns on a darkened sky. There are dawns when light spills through waves, painting the world below in golden streams. Even the smallest shell holds an echo, carrying the rhythm of water in its hollow chamber. And so the ocean becomes more than a place. It is a living spirit, vast and unending. It is a kingdom without borders, ruled not by walls but by tides that shift and return. Here, dolphins leap with joy, breaking the surface as though greeting the light itself. Here, whales sing deep songs, voices that travel miles, calling in tones both sorrowful and grand. Every creature finds a place, from the humblest crab to the mighty schools that shadow the sun. Together they weave a fabric of life, each thread shining, each voice adding to the chorus. The sea is harmony, built not on silence, but on the blend of countless gentle sounds. The hum of currents, the call of gulls, the sigh of waves, all belong to its eternal song. This is not a place of fear, but of wonder, where every breath of water tells of creation. The sea holds treasures, not gold nor jewels, but pearls of peace and wonders of living color. Corals bloom like gardens, anemones sway like dancers, and kelp forests rise like temples. Each scene is a canvas painted by time, brushed by currents, signed by the hand of eternity. The sea is endless, but it is also intimate, touching every shore and shaping every coast. It binds the world together, connecting lands with paths of water older than human thought. To walk the sand is to feel its pulse, each wave a heartbeat that never falters nor fades. To look across the horizon is to glimpse infinity, carried by a line that never ends. This is the realm of Poseidon, though his form has yet to rise in the telling. This is the stage upon which nymphs will dance, their laughter echoing in tides of light. The ocean is their home, and it is also their song, a melody flowing through every current. Poseidon's gaze watches from afar, but here the sea itself takes center stage in its fullness. Before gods and nymphs appear, before voices are heard, the sea itself must be known. It is the beginning and the breath, the foundation upon which all other stories will rest. For without the sea, there would be no story, no chorus, no memory to carry forward. And so we linger here, listening to the heartbeat of the waters, steady and eternal. Every drop, every ripple carries meaning, a whisper from the depths to those who listen. The sea is a companion, vast yet close, always present, always singing softly beneath the sky. Let us stay a while longer. Let us hear the rhythm. Let us honor the first voice. The sea. Beneath the rolling tides, a presence stirs, quiet yet vast, as constant as the heartbeat of the sea itself. It is Poseidon, lord of waters, not as a figure of rage, but as a guardian carved from salt and time. He stands tall within the deep, his trident resting like a compass, steady in hand, guiding the endless waves. His eyes mirror the horizon, shifting from calm azure to storm gray, reflecting the moods of the ocean. He is not bound by shore or sky, for his domain flows without borders, stretching farther than any map. Each current that moves, each tide that turns, listens to his silent command, woven in rhythm and grace. Yet his strength is not thunder alone, but also gentleness, for he cradles life in the vast embrace of water. The fish, the coral, the whales that sing, all answer not to fear, but to the balance he preserves. Poseidon is power, yes, but power tempered, shaped by wisdom gained from ages beyond counting. He is the memory of storms, but also the calm after rain, the stillness where reflection is born. When sailors glance upon the horizon, it is his presence they feel in the roll of the tides. When rivers meet the sea, it is his hand that welcomes them, blending fresh water into endless blue. His palace of coral and shell lies hidden, a place where light dances and silence carries weight. There Poseidon walks not as a king demanding, but as a keeper, watching over what is his. Pearls shine in the halls, not as trophies, but as reminders of the sea's gentle generosity. Every stone, every shell, holds meaning, each one collected by the ocean's patient hands. He does not shout, for his voice is carried by the currents, heard in every wave that touches shore. He does not need to march, for the sea itself moves with him, rolling in endless, graceful motion. To the creatures of the deep, he is not distant but ever present, a constant rhythm of care. They sense him in the tide, they trust him in the calm, they fear neither shadow nor silence. Poseidon's gaze stretches wide, not only to the depths, but to the lives touched by the water. He knows the loneliness of sailors, the hopes carried by ships, the longing hidden in distant shores. He listens when the wind carries prayers, whispered softly to the waves by those seeking safe passage. And though he does not answer in words, the sea responds, guiding or warning as it must. Some nights, Poseidon rises, not with thunder, but with stillness, gazing upon the silver moon. The reflection of light upon waves becomes his companion, silent, steady, and eternal. He breathes in harmony with the tides. Each inhale the gathering of waves, each exhale their release. There is majesty in his presence, but not the kind that demands kneeling, only respect and wonder. He does not hold chains, he does not demand offerings, for the ocean itself is his everlasting throne. What he offers is balance, a reminder that strength and gentleness dwell side by side. His trident is not a weapon alone, but a symbol, guiding storms when needed, calming waters when kind. Every strike into the sea is measured, not to destroy, but to set in motion what must be. Poseidon holds the memory of creation itself, when land and sea first met, when tides were born. He carries that memory forward, weaving it into each ripple that greets the sun or moon. Even the quietest pool reflects him. The smallest wave echoes his care, his reach unending. He is both near and far, both storm and stillness, both power and peace intertwined. The sea knows him as father, the nymphs as companion, the creatures as constant protector. And though his realm is vast, he moves within it, not as ruler, but as presence everlasting. Poseidon belongs to the sea, just as the sea belongs to him, an unbroken bond, eternal. To know the ocean is to sense him, to feel his watchful eyes, calm yet mighty, always aware. He is the echo of water meeting stone, the whisper of tide touching sand, the hum of eternity. In his domain, nothing is forgotten, for the sea remembers, and Poseidon remembers with it. And so, the ocean's guardian waits, steady and patient, his gaze fixed on the endless horizon. They are called sea nymphs, daughters of the deep, spirits woven from foam, tide, and radiant light. Each one is unique, yet together they form a harmony, a chorus sung through every current of the sea. They drift like whispers, their presence felt in ripples, their laughter carried by the playful waves. Wherever the water shines with sudden beauty, there the nymphs are said to dance unseen and free. Some rise near rocky cliffs, their voices echoing like silver bells above the crashing surf. Some dwell in quiet lagoons, where their touch stirs the lilies and awakens the dreams of fish. Others swim in rivers that meet the ocean, guiding fresh waters into the salt with gentle grace. They are keepers of music, guardians of beauty, and companions to the endless life of the sea. Every shell that hums with sound carries a fragment of their eternal, joyful song of harmony. Their hair flows like seaweed, their steps are currents, their breath a sigh of wind on water. But they are not bound to shape or form, for they are spirit before flesh, song before shadow. When dolphins leap, the nymphs laugh, their joy blending with the spray and sunlight in the air. When moonlight spills across the waves, they rise to dance, glimmering like pearls in the night. Their movements are not hurried but flowing, like tides that know no beginning and no end. Some say their voices heal, calming storms, softening winds, bringing rest to weary travelers. Others believe they weave dreams into the waves, gifting visions to those who sleep near the sea. Though unseen by most, their presence is certain, felt in the serenity that water brings to the soul. Children playing at the shore hear them first, mistaking their whispers for the laughter of gulls. Sailors tell of glimpses, figures in foam, faces in light, vanishing as quickly as they appear. The nymphs are not tricksters, but guides, teaching that beauty is as strong as the tide itself. They are kindness embodied, reminding mortals and gods alike that gentleness is not weakness. Their touch is in the softness of sea spray, their warmth in the glow of shallow pools at dusk. They do not seek worship, for they are content in their dance, their song, their eternal play. Each day they gather in hidden gardens of coral, weaving garlands from seaweed and shells. Their laughter fills the water, a melody so sweet that even the fish pause to listen in wonder. Schools of silver swim in circles as though joining in the rhythm of their underwater dance. Turtles linger near, cradled by the calm they bring, their ancient eyes resting in peace. Even the mighty whales slow their path to hear the quiet music that flows from nymphs' voices. The ocean, vast and mighty, finds tenderness through them, its strength softened by their grace. Poseidon himself watches, silent at times, knowing that their harmony is the ocean's true gift. For he commands the tides, yet they shape the heart, filling the sea with joy beyond measure. Their stories are told not in words, but in echoes, in the shimmer of light beneath the waves. To encounter them is to understand the sea not only as power, but as beauty unending. And though they are countless, each nymph is a star, distinct and shining within the waters. Some carry laughter, bright as morning. Others bear calm, deep as midnight in the still sea. Together, they weave a balance, a living reminder that the ocean is both gentle and strong. Legends say they are the daughters of memory itself, born to remind the world of harmony. They sing not for glory, but because the song is within them, the truth they cannot keep silent. Their dance is for the waves, their joy for the creatures, their song for the eternal sea. And so, the nymphs remain, ageless and free, companions to Poseidon, caretakers of the deep. In their presence, the ocean is alive with warmth, laughter, and the beauty of endless song. To know the nymphs is to know the soul of the sea, tender, playful, and filled with light. Beneath the endless sky lies a vast kingdom of water, glittering and alive with hidden wonders. The ocean breathes in rhythms older than memory, its waves whispering secrets to the wind. Far below the rolling surface, coral gardens bloom with color and light, a living tapestry of the sea. Fish dart like sparks of silver, weaving in and out of shadows where mysteries wait to be found. Every ripple carries a story, every tide a song, written in the language of the deep. Here dwells Poseidon, ruler of the waters, keeper of storms, and guardian of the sea's heart. His trident shines like lightning, yet his gaze often softens when he looks upon his vast realm. For though power rests in his hands, wisdom whispers that harmony keeps the ocean alive. It is not a kingdom of silence, but of voices, currents, shells, dolphins, and unseen spirits. Among them live the sea nymphs, radiant beings who dance in tides and weave songs of beauty. Their laughter rises like foam, their songs flow like rivers, filling the ocean with joy. Together, they remind the sea that strength and gentleness are not enemies, but companions. And so begins our tale, where Poseidon listens, where the nymphs sing, and where the ocean dreams. The morning sun rose over the horizon, painting the sea with gold and silver. Waves stretched toward the shore like hands reaching for warmth. The ocean shimmered, alive with movement, sound, and 1,000 unseen rhythms. Above the waves, seabirds circled and cried, their voices sharp and distant. But far beneath them, deeper than the light could reach, silence wrapped the world in calm. In this kingdom below, Poseidon watched from his throne of coral and stone. His palace stood like a mountain, carved by currents, shining with pearls and shells. Walls glowed with faint light, as if the sea itself had poured its soul into them. The floor was alive with mosaics of fish, swimming in patterns that never stilled. Poseidon held his trident, its surface bright, like lightning caught in crystal. Yet his face carried not anger, but quiet thought, softened by the ocean's song. He breathed deeply, hearing the hum of waters, the endless voice of his realm. Every tide carried memories, old and new, stories written in shifting sands. He closed his eyes, listening as the ocean spoke in rhythms only he could hear. It was not command that drew him close to the sea, but belonging. He was king, yes, but he was also a son of the waters, born of its power. Each wave reminded him of balance, the dance between calm and storm. Even the smallest ripple held meaning, echoing through the endless blue. On this morning, the ocean's voice was clear, filled with quiet longing. The currents seemed to whisper, urging him to rise, to wander beyond his palace. He left the throne behind, walking barefoot along the smooth floor of his hall. The palace opened to the world outside, where the sea stretched like eternity. He stepped into the water's embrace, though he had never left it. The ocean welcomed him, folding around him with familiar weight and warmth. Fish darted past him, quick and bright, leaving trails of glitter in their wake. He smiled, for the ocean's life was its greatest treasure, greater than pearls or gold. Above, shafts of light pierced the surface, breaking into rivers of silver. They fell upon his shoulders like blessings from the heavens above. Poseidon moved forward, each step stirring the sand in soft spirals. The sea seemed to guide him, drawing him toward a place beyond memory. He passed forests of kelp swaying like green banners in a silent wind. He passed gardens of coral, each alive with colors too rich to name. The sea was his world, yet still it held places that felt like mysteries. And Poseidon loved mysteries, for they reminded him the ocean was infinite. At last, he reached a clearing where the waters grew calm and still. Here the currents gathered, weaving soft patterns as if the sea itself held breath. He paused, sensing that something awaited him just beyond sight. The ocean whispered again, carrying voices not made of storm or tide. It was a music faint yet real, a sound both ancient and young. Poseidon tilted his head, listening as the song brushed against his ears. It was not the voice of whales, nor the echo of shifting stones. This was something brighter, woven of joy, laughter, and living beauty. The corners of his mouth curved into a rare smile, for he knew the singers were close, hidden just beyond the coral. The sea nymphs, guardians of light and song, were calling without words. And Poseidon, ruler of the waters, felt his heart stir at their melody. The day had begun not with storms, but with music, and he welcomed it. The currents carried whispers through the deep, soft as threads of silk woven by unseen hands. They wound around pillars of coral, brushed against sleeping shells, and reached the ears of Poseidon. The whispers were not storms, not tempests, but songs. Light, fleeting songs carried from faraway tides. Poseidon paused in his stride, tilting his head as the sound grew clear against the silence of the sea. It was laughter at first, bright as foam on the waves, yet woven with notes of mystery and grace. Each whisper carried a fragment of music, and together they became a hymn echoing through the deep. Poseidon felt the weight of the ocean shift, as though the sea itself leaned in to listen. He knew these voices, for they had touched his ears many times before in fleeting moments of calm. They belonged to the sea nymphs, daughters of the waves, guardians of harmony and secret tides. Their songs moved with the waters, blending into the current until sound became one with motion. To hear them was to feel the ocean's heart beating, steady and eternal, soft yet commanding. Poseidon closed his eyes, letting the music pass through him like currents across a reef. The whispers told no stories of battle, no tales of thunder, but of joy and wonder. They spoke of dolphins leaping, of sunlight breaking into rainbows on the sea's skin. They carried the hush of night when the moon touched the surface with silver. Every note was a memory, gathered by the sea and released again in shimmering sound. The trident in Poseidon's hand pulsed faintly, glowing as if awakened by the harmony. It was as though the voices were not just music, but power drawn from the ocean itself. Yet this power was gentle, unlike the roar of storms or the crash of breaking waves. It healed rather than harmed, weaving threads of calm into the restless fabric of the sea. Poseidon's heart stirred, touched by a peace even he, master of oceans, seldom felt. The whispers grew louder, circling him like schools of fish, playful and unbound. They danced in his mind, lifting the weight of centuries that rested on his shoulders. For in their voices was a reminder: the sea was not only vast, but alive with joy. He opened his eyes, gazing into the deep where shadows swayed in endless blue. From the dark came sparks of light, as if pearls had awakened and drifted free. The voices twined around them, filling the waters with a radiance that felt eternal. Poseidon followed the current, guided not by sight, but by the song that pulled him forward. He moved with ease, each step stirring the sand, each step answering the call of the nymphs. The water shimmered around him, forming waves of sound he could almost see with his eyes. Each note curved like a ribbon, each laugh fluttered like the wings of a seabird. The ocean itself seemed to bow, giving way to the harmony flowing through its veins. For a moment, Poseidon was no king, no wielder of storms, but a listener, one of many. He remembered the first time he had heard their songs, when the seas were young. The memory returned now, fresh and bright, as if the nymphs sang to awaken it again. He felt the hush of creation, the moment when water first breathed and tides first rose. In their whispers, he heard the promise that the ocean would endure, no matter the age. The voices faded, then swelled, like tides moving in and out, carrying life with them. Poseidon smiled, his heart warmed, knowing the sea's harmony was alive and unbroken. He turned his face upward, toward the currents that carried the voices like gentle hands. Somewhere above, the nymphs were waiting, weaving their songs into the morning sea. Their melody called to him not as ruler, but as kin, as one who belonged among them. And so, with quiet strength, Poseidon followed the whispers, ready to meet the singers once more. Poseidon moved through the waters, guided by the faint glimmer of voices that played like threads of light. The sea opened before him, vast and endless, yet filled with secret paths only he could truly know. He felt the pull of melody, steady and bright, drawing him closer to the source of its beauty. The corals bent with the currents, swaying as if bowing to welcome the approaching king of the seas. Soon the world brightened, not from sunlight, but from the glow of living beings gathered in harmony. There, in a hidden garden of shells and pearl, the sea nymphs danced in circles of radiant joy. Their hair flowed like streams of kelp, catching sparks of silver drifting from unseen waves above. Their eyes shimmered like polished stones, each reflecting the light of the ocean in gentle colors. They moved with grace, every gesture weaving music into the fabric of the water around them. Their laughter rose like bubbles, light and playful, each sound adding to the song of the sea. Poseidon paused, watching in silence, for even a god could be humbled by such beauty. The nymphs did not fear him, nor did they bow, for their bond was older than reverence. They were daughters of the ocean, as much a part of its soul as the tides themselves. One nymph swam closer, her voice soft and bright, greeting him without hesitation or fear. "Lord of the seas," she whispered, though her tone held warmth instead of distance. "Why do you wander here, where the currents play and the songs weave their light?" Poseidon's smile touched the corners of his lips, rare and calm, like dawn upon still waters. "I follow your voices," he replied, his tone steady as the deep. "They call across the ocean, weaving harmony even where silence reigns. I come to listen." The nymphs exchanged glances, their laughter soft as bells hidden in shells. "Then listen," another said, "for the sea is always speaking, and our voices only carry its echoes." They began to sing once more, forming a circle, hands joined, their movements slow and fluid. The water around them shimmered, as though it too wished to join their hymn. The song spoke of tides that kissed the shore, of waves that carried travelers home. It told of moonlight resting on calm seas, of storms that passed leaving clarity behind. Poseidon closed his eyes, letting the song flow into him, filling every part of his being. He felt the balance of his kingdom alive in their voices, as if the sea itself breathed with them. Each note seemed to bind the waters together, knitting currents and waves into unity. The dolphins leapt nearby, echoing their joy, spinning through the melody as if they too understood. Schools of fish shimmered in patterns, reflecting the rhythm like living constellations of the sea. Even the corals glowed brighter, their colors pulsing in harmony with the voices around them. Poseidon opened his eyes and raised his trident, not in command, but in reverence. The glow of its crystal tip joined their light, blending into the chorus of the ocean. For a moment, there was no ruler, no subjects, only the endless circle of sea and song. The nymphs sang on, their voices rising, weaving visions of places Poseidon rarely visited. They sang of shallow reefs bursting with life, of hidden caves where pearls slept in silence. They sang of distant waves meeting rivers, carrying whispers of forests and mountains beyond. Poseidon listened, for in their music was knowledge as well as beauty. The nymphs carried the memory of every tide, every creature, every secret of the sea. And in their company, Poseidon felt not just a king, but a brother of the waters. The circle of song slowed, the light softened, and the nymphs released their joined hands. Silence returned, gentle and deep, like the pause between waves. "Do you hear us now?" one asked, her voice quiet as moonlight on calm seas. Poseidon nodded, his gaze warm, his heart touched by what words could not fully name. "Yes," he said, "and in your voices I hear not just music, but the very soul of the ocean." The nymphs smiled, their eyes bright, and the sea around them stirred with quiet joy. For in that moment, Poseidon and the sea nymphs were one with the endless, dreaming waters. Poseidon stood among the nymphs, his trident lowered, his presence softened by the glow of their song. The waters carried their voices far and wide, weaving harmony through every current and hidden stream. He felt the ocean breathe in rhythm with them, its heart beating steady, strong, and endlessly alive. One nymph stepped forward, her eyes bright as dawn, her voice carrying the calm of flowing rivers. "Lord of the seas," she said, "you hear our voices, but do you know the gift they hold?" Poseidon tilted his head, his gaze deep, like waves that reveal more the longer one looks. "The sea is vast," he replied, "and even I cannot know all its voices or all its mysteries." The nymph smiled gently, her hair drifting like silk threads spun by the current. "Our song is not just melody, but the harmony that binds the ocean together in silence and in storm." Another nymph joined her, her laughter warm as foam dancing on the crest of a wave. When we sing, we weave peace into the waters, so every tide carries balance across the realm. Poseidon listened, his heart steady, though inside he felt the stirrings of wonder at their words. For though he ruled storms and waves, harmony was a gift he could never summon alone. The circle of nymphs began again, their voices soft at first, like the hush of dawn before day. Slowly the sound grew, threads of song spinning through the sea like ribbons of light and shadow. Every note carried balance, softening the weight of currents, smoothing the restless pull of tides. The dolphins nearby calmed their leaps, the fish slowed their darting, as though lulled by peace. Even the seaweed swayed not in wild rhythm, but in gentle arcs that followed the melody's flow. Poseidon closed his eyes, and the ocean's power shifted, its strength steady but tender at once. In their song he felt healing, a quiet promise that storms need not break to show their might. The trident in his hand glowed faintly, reflecting the harmony as if it too longed for balance. He lowered it to the sand, no longer a weapon of storms, but a vessel of listening. The nymph's song rose higher, weaving visions across the waters like murals painted on glass. He saw rivers joining the sea, carrying voices from forests, mountains, and secret valleys. He saw tides touching distant shores, leaving whispers of connection upon the sand. He saw creatures great and small, living in rhythm, their lives shaped by unseen chords of harmony. The vision settled in his heart, not his command, but his understanding deeper than words. Poseidon opened his eyes, and the nymphs' songs slowed, their circle drifting to gentle stillness. They looked at him, their faces bright with the serenity of waves at rest. "Do you feel it?" one asked softly, her voice like moonlight over calm waters. Poseidon nodded, his expression touched by something beyond pride or power. "Yes," he said. "I feel the ocean not as a storm or throne, but as a living harmony." The nymphs smiled, their voices blending in quiet laughter that rippled like sunlight. "Then you know," another spoke, "that our gift is not strength but balance, the secret of the deep." Poseidon's gaze turned to the waters beyond, his thoughts carrying him far into the abyss. The sea was vast, and he wondered if this harmony touched even the silent places of shadow. The nymphs followed his eyes, and their song fell silent, as though they too knew the question. For in the darkness beyond their gardens lay depths untouched by song or light. And in Poseidon's heart, a new path stirred, one that would lead them into the unknown. The ocean stretched before them, wide and endless, its surface calm but hiding mysteries beneath the blue. Poseidon stood silent, the nymphs around him glowing softly, their eyes fixed on the unseen horizon. The song had ended, yet its echo lingered in the water like ripples that refused to fade. He felt the pull of the deep, the vast unknown that no melody had yet touched or healed. A voice rose among the nymphs, gentle yet steady, carrying the weight of unspoken truth. "Lord of the seas, beyond these gardens lie shadows where harmony has never reached." Poseidon turned, his gaze deep as the abyss itself, searching for meaning in her words. The nymph's hair floated like silver threads, her voice calm as the lull of a fading tide. In the far reaches of the ocean, silence rules, and our song has never found its way. Her words painted an image of trenches, valleys, and caverns untouched by light or sound. Poseidon felt the pull of those places, vast realms hidden from even the boldest creatures. Another nymph spoke, her tone lighter, but with a tremor of curiosity woven within. "We wonder if our voices reach those places, Would they awaken or remain forever still? The question hung in the water like a pearl suspended in shadow, luminous but uncertain. Poseidon felt the stir of a challenge, not of war, but of journey into realms untamed. His heart, so used to storms and tempests, now beat with a quiet call of exploration. "The sea is mine," he said softly, "and no corner of it should remain a stranger to harmony." The nymphs exchanged glances, their smiles both bright and hesitant, like dawn breaking gently. They had long sung in gardens, caves, and along shores, but the abyss was a different realm. One nymph whispered, her voice almost trembling, "What if the silence swallows our voices whole?" Poseidon placed his trident firmly upon the sand, its glow steady, a beacon within the dim. "Then we will sing louder, together, until silence learns to listen." The nymphs drew close, their hands linked, their laughter soft as waves curling on a quiet shore. They trusted his strength, not of storms, but of resolve that carried like a current through them. Poseidon lifted his gaze toward the deep, the waters shifting in subtle waves at his intent. The silence of the abyss was not a threat, but an invitation to bring harmony where none lived. The nymphs began a soft hum, tentative but warm, weaving courage into the stillness. The ocean itself seemed to lean in, listening, as if curious what song might reach its roots. Poseidon raised his trident, not to command, but to guide the rhythm of the unfolding hymn. The melody grew, steady and strong, flowing like a tide drawn by an unseen moon. Fish gathered in shimmering shoals, their scales reflecting the notes like prisms of light. Even the sand stirred in gentle patterns, echoing the shape of the song as it spread. The harmony reached outward, farther than before, each note a thread stretching into darkness. Yet even as it traveled, the deep did not answer, keeping its silence like an unopened shell. Poseidon did not falter. His eyes shone with patience, born of centuries spent with tides. "The abyss has listened for eons to nothing," he said. "It may take time to awaken." The nymphs nodded, their voices steady, rising into chords that shimmered like moonlit waves. They sang not to conquer, but to invite, to offer balance to the ocean's most secret places. Their harmony reached deeper, winding down cliffs, valleys, and trenches unseen by mortal eyes. Still, the silence remained vast, untouched, yet within it stirred the faintest tremor. It was not a voice, not yet, but the smallest shift, as though the abyss had heard. The nymphs felt it too, their eyes wide, their voices brightened with hope and wonder. Poseidon smiled faintly, his heart steady, knowing a journey had begun with this first answer. They had not conquered the silence, but they had touched it, and that was enough for now. The ocean shivered with possibility, and the path ahead glimmered with the promise of discovery. The ocean stretched before them, wide and endless, its surface calm but hiding mysteries beneath the blue. Poseidon stood silent, the nymphs around him glowing softly, their eyes fixed on the unseen horizon. The song had ended, yet its echo lingered in the water like ripples that refused to fade. He felt the pull of the deep, the vast unknown that no melody had yet touched or healed. A voice rose among the nymphs, gentle yet steady, carrying the weight of unspoken truth. "Lord of the seas, beyond these gardens lie shadows where harmony has never reached." Poseidon turned, his gaze deep as the abyss itself, searching for meaning in her words. The nymph's hair floated like silver threads, her voice calm as the lull of a fading tide. In the far reaches of the ocean, silence rules, and our song has never found its way. Her words painted an image of trenches, valleys, and caverns untouched by light or sound. Poseidon felt the pull of those places, vast realms hidden from even the boldest creatures. Another nymph spoke, her tone lighter, but with the tremor of curiosity woven within. We wonder if our voices reach those places. Would they awaken or remain forever still? The question hung in the water like a pearl suspended in shadow, luminous but uncertain. Poseidon felt the stir of a challenge, not of war, but of journey into realms untamed. His heart, so used to storms and tempests, now beat with the quiet call of exploration. "The sea is mine," he said softly, "and no corner of it should remain a stranger to harmony." The nymphs exchanged glances, their smiles both bright and hesitant, like dawn breaking gently. They had long sung in gardens, caves, and along shores, but the abyss was a different realm. One nymph whispered, her voice almost trembling, "What if the silence swallows our voices whole?" Poseidon placed his trident firmly upon the sand, its glow steady, a beacon within the dim. "Then we will sing louder together, until silence learns to listen." The nymphs drew close, their hands linked, their laughter soft as waves curling on a quiet shore. They trusted his strength, not of storms, but of resolve that carried like a current through them. Poseidon lifted his gaze toward the deep, the waters shifting in subtle waves at his intent. The silence of the abyss was not a threat, but an invitation to bring harmony where none lived. The nymphs began a soft hum, tentative but warm, weaving courage into the stillness. The ocean itself seemed to lean in, listening as if curious what song might reach its roots. Poseidon raised his trident, not to command, but to guide the rhythm of the unfolding hymn. The melody grew, steady and strong, flowing like a tide drawn by an unseen moon. Fish gathered in shimmering shoals, their scales reflecting the notes like prisms of light. Even the sand stirred in gentle patterns, echoing the shape of the song as it spread. The harmony reached outward, farther than before, each note a thread stretching into darkness. Yet even as it traveled, the deep did not answer, keeping its silence like an unopened shell. Poseidon did not falter. His eyes shone with patience, born of centuries spent with tides. "The abyss has listened for eons to nothing," he said. "It may take time to awaken." The nymphs nodded, their voices steady, rising into chords that shimmered like moonlit waves. They sang not to conquer, but to invite, to offer balance to the ocean's most secret places. Their harmony reached deeper, winding down cliffs, valleys, and trenches unseen by mortal eyes. Still, the silence remained vast, untouched, yet within it stirred the faintest tremor. It was not a voice, not yet, but the smallest shift, as though the abyss had heard. The nymphs felt it too, their eyes wide, their voices brightened with hope and wonder. Poseidon smiled faintly, his heart steady, knowing a journey had begun with his first answer. They had not conquered the silence, but they had touched it, and that was enough for now. The ocean shivered with possibility, and the path ahead glimmered with the promise of discovery. The ocean was calm, yet beneath its still surface, the journey of Poseidon and the nymphs pressed onward. They had sung to the abyss, and though silence answered, they had felt a shift, a trembling in the dark. That tremor lingered now, like a secret heartbeat, subtle yet undeniable in the veins of the sea. Poseidon carried it in his chest, a reminder that even silence can be stirred to listen. The nymphs swam beside him, their movements fluid, their voices humming softly like dawn's first light. "Do you think the silence waits for us?" one asked, her words drifting like bubbles to the surface. Poseidon did not answer at once. His gaze was steady, fixed on the deeper paths ahead. "The sea does not wait," he said. "It receives. We must offer, and in time, it will respond." His words were quiet, yet they rippled through the nymphs, filling them with both resolve and awe. They knew their voices were not weapons, but bridges, stretched across the unseen expanse of the deep. The journey took them past coral forests, where fish shimmered like jewels beneath beams of light. The nymphs trailed their fingers along branches of coral, each touch leaving ripples of quiet joy. Even here, their songs carried soft notes that folded into the rhythm of flowing tides. Poseidon listened, his trident glowing faintly, in tune with the harmony that filled the currents. But as they descended further, the light thinned, and shadows grew longer across the ocean floor. The colors faded into blues and silvers, until only faint glimmers marked the edge of vision. The nymphs' laughter grew softer, their voices more cautious, though their song never truly ceased. "Here lies the border," Poseidon murmured, "the place where the known fades into mystery." The nymphs pressed close, their eyes shining, their song rising in gentle chords of courage. They sang to steady themselves, and in doing so, they steadied the waters that grew restless. The silence deepened around them, vast and heavy, as though watching their every movement. Still, their harmony flowed, weaving strength into the very currents that led them onward. Poseidon could feel the sea testing them, its silence like a gate they must pass. He raised his trident, not in command, but as a torch to guide through the dark expanse. The nymphs' voices followed, carrying light not of fire but of hope and balance unbroken. Each note carved a path through shadow, each chord a promise to the sea's quiet heart. As they sang, faint glows appeared around them, creatures drawn from darkness by the harmony. Jellyfish drifted with their own gentle light, joining the song with silent pulses of radiance. The nymphs gasped softly, their fear easing as the dark bloomed with shimmering life. Poseidon watched, his heart firm, knowing the ocean was beginning to reveal itself in answer. The silence was not absolute. It was waiting, cautious, yet curious about the gift offered. The nymphs lifted their voices higher, laughter mixing with song, their courage growing brighter. Their harmony spread in rings, reaching caverns and cliffs, filling the abyss with fragile light. The ocean floor itself seemed to hum, as though acknowledging the threads woven into its depths. Poseidon smiled faintly, his voice low, steady. The sea listens, even when it does not yet speak. The nymphs held his words close, their songs steady as waves folding one after another without end. Together they pressed further, guided by the melody that rose above the hush of silence. They were no longer afraid of the dark. They carried light within, and that was enough. The abyss stirred once more, a vibration softer than words, like the exhale of a sleeping giant. Though faint, it was real, and the nymph's eyes filled with awe at the sea's quiet reply. Poseidon knew the journey was far from complete, but each tremor marked the beginning of trust. The silence was no longer untouched. It had been reached, and now it began to change. The ocean stretched vast before them, dark yet shimmering, a canvas awaiting new harmony. The deeper they traveled, the quieter the sea became, as though every sound was swallowed by the abyss. The nymphs sang softly, their voices weaving threads of light that shimmered in the darkness. Poseidon moved with calm strength, his trident glowing faintly, guiding them like a lantern through shadow. The silence was heavy, pressing against them, testing their resolve with its endless, wordless stillness. Yet the song did not falter, each note carrying courage into waters that had never known harmony. The abyss stretched vast and unbroken, its cliffs rising like walls carved by time itself. Strange shapes moved in the distance, their outlines hidden, their presence sensed more than seen. The nymphs tightened their circle, their hands brushing as if to remind each other they were not alone. Poseidon's voice joined theirs, low and deep, blending with their melody like thunder softened by rain. The harmony grew stronger, and the dark waters stirred, touched by sound that reached their roots. Slowly, faint glimmers appeared, hidden life answering the call with the gentlest flickers of light. Tiny creatures drifted forward, their bodies glowing, drawn to the song as though it was home. The nymphs smiled, their voices rising with hope, each note brighter than the one before. The silence cracked like old stone, not broken, but stirred into motion by the power of balance. The abyss trembled faintly, the current shifting as if awakening from a long-forgotten slumber. Poseidon watched, his heart steady, knowing the deep was listening, though it had yet to speak. He lifted his trident, its glow echoing the harmony, casting long rays across the ocean floor. The nymphs followed, their song reaching caverns where no sound had ever dared to travel. Their melody wove through cracks and valleys, filling the abyss with a rhythm of gentle breath. The sea responded slowly, like a sleeper turning toward a distant voice calling them home. A great shadow passed above, vast and ancient, yet softened by the music it drifted through. The nymphs gasped, but did not stop, their song steady even as awe filled their hearts. Poseidon's voice deepened, carrying strength not of storms, but of timeless patience. "The sea holds every secret," he said, "but even secrets may answer when harmony is offered." The nymphs' voices swelled, filling the abyss with warmth, each chord lifting the silence higher. Creatures hidden for centuries stirred, drawn forth by the call of balance and gentle peace. Eels uncoiled from their stone shelters, their eyes glowing faintly in rhythm with the song. Schools of silverfish moved as one, forming shifting patterns that shimmered like constellations. The abyss was alive, not empty, and the harmony gave it courage to show its hidden face. The nymphs laughed between notes, their fear replaced with wonder as the dark revealed its beauty. Poseidon watched the transformation with quiet pride, his heart moved by the courage of the nymphs. He knew the silence had not been conquered, but touched, and that touch carried hope. The abyss trembled once more, softer this time, not in resistance, but in response. It was not yet a voice, but it was no longer mute. It had begun to breathe. The nymph's song grew gentle, no longer pressing, but embracing the silence as if it were kin. Their harmony settled like a blanket over the deep, calming what once was untouchable. Poseidon lowered his trident, letting its glow fade into the rhythm of the song. They did not force the silence to speak. They welcomed it, and that was enough for now. The abyss had listened, and in its stillness, it had answered with movement and light. Poseidon smiled faintly, his voice carrying through the waters. "The journey is only beginning." The nymphs nodded, their hearts lifted, their voices blending in one final chord of unity. Together they pressed on, the dark no longer a prison, but a canvas awaiting new harmony. And in the silence of the abyss, hope stirred, fragile yet eternal, waiting to be awakened. The journey carried them deeper still, where the water pressed heavy and the light grew faint. Poseidon led with calm steps, his trident a quiet beacon in the shifting shadows of the deep. The nymphs followed close, their voices weaving songs that shimmered like threads across the silence. Every note seemed to awaken a memory, as though the sea itself was recalling forgotten stories. They passed coral spires that glowed faintly, their shapes delicate yet unbroken by centuries of stillness. Fish swam in slow spirals, drawn to the melody, their scales reflecting sparks of hidden light. The nymph's song rose and fell like waves, filling the abyss with warmth against its ancient hush. Poseidon listened, his heart steady, sensing the ocean stirring in ways beyond his command. A gentle current formed, winding around them, carrying whispers that felt older than time. The nymphs shivered, not from fear but from awe, for the sea seemed to be answering their call. They sang louder, their harmonies blooming, carrying courage into waters untouched by joy. The silence cracked again, not with violence, but with the soft yielding of stone underwater. From the shadows, creatures drifted forward, eyes glowing with curiosity instead of threat. Poseidon lifted his trident slightly, but not in defense, only as a guide of light. The beings of the abyss swirled around them, forming shapes like constellations in the night sea. The nymphs gasped, then sang softer, their voices turning tender as though singing to children. The ocean responded in kind, currents shifting to carry their song across unseen caverns. Poseidon spoke gently, his voice like the tide. The sea listens when it is shown kindness. The nymphs nodded, their harmony flowing with greater care, embracing rather than commanding the deep. Suddenly, a vast shadow loomed, larger than mountains, moving with the slowness of eternity. The nymphs faltered for a heartbeat, their song trembling as the water thickened with presence. Poseidon steadied them with a glance, his eyes firm, his trident glowing brighter in the dark. He began to hum, low and resonant, a sound like the earth beneath the sea. The nymphs followed, their voices blending, creating a chord that rang true and fearless. The shadow lingered, then circled, as though testing the harmony's strength against its silence. But the song did not break, and the abyss trembled once more in recognition. A rumble echoed through the waters, not threatening, but ancient, like a voice waking. The nymphs felt it in their chests, a deep vibration that merged with their singing hearts. Poseidon lifted his trident higher, the light casting arcs across the cavern walls. In that glow, the shadow revealed fragments of itself. Scales vast as cliffs, eyes calm as moons. It was no monster, but a guardian of the abyss, silent for ages, watching, waiting. The nymphs' fear dissolved into wonder, and their voices carried joy instead of doubt. The guardian drifted closer, circling them slowly, its gaze resting on Poseidon with respect. Poseidon bowed his head, offering no command, only recognition of its ancient role. The nymphs sang their softest notes yet, a lullaby that touched even the coldest water. The guardian stilled, its massive form shimmering faintly, as though remembering long-lost light. The abyss quieted, not with weight, but with peace, a silence that welcomed their presence. Poseidon lowered his trident, letting the song itself be the only beacon. The guardian slipped into the dark once more, but not before leaving a trail of light. The nymphs watched in awe, their song carrying gratitude into the endless deep. They knew the abyss had heard them, and that its guardians had chosen not to resist. Poseidon's voice was calm, steady, filled with pride. Harmony awakens what power alone cannot. The nymphs smiled, their eyes bright with new courage, their voices ringing pure and strong. Together, they swam forward, the silence no longer an enemy, but a companion of their song. And in the heart of the deep, something vast and eternal shifted, not with fear, but with hope. The sea grew colder as they ventured farther, the weight of the deep pressing upon every breath they took. Poseidon's trident glowed softly, a steady flame against the vast expanse of endless shadow. The nymphs sang carefully, their voices weaving fragile bridges between silence and sound. Each note trembled through the water, yet carried strength born of trust and unity. The abyss seemed endless, stretching beyond sight, its secrets locked in ancient stillness. But now, it stirred, as if listening to voices it had long forgotten. The nymphs felt the change, their songs growing bolder, yet tender like waves caressing the shore. Poseidon's gaze swept the darkness, sensing a presence vast and hidden. Currents shifted around them, coiling and twisting like thoughts awakening from sleep. The nymphs' harmony bent with the tide, adapting, flowing with grace instead of force. Their song painted the silence with color, each tone a brush upon the dark canvas. Shapes emerged, faint outlines of creatures unseen for centuries, drawn to the fragile light. Some were small, darting quickly, shimmering like sparks in the gloom. Others were immense, gliding slowly, their forms half hidden, their eyes glowing faint. The abyss was not empty. It was a kingdom veiled in silence, waiting for a call. Poseidon raised his trident, not in power, but in offering, a beacon of balance. The nymphs encircled him, their voices layering into a harmony that pulsed like a heartbeat. The silence shifted, no longer heavy, but curious, as if leaning closer to listen. A cavern opened ahead, its entrance shaped like the mouth of an ancient god. Lightless and vast, it seemed to hold the very pulse of the ocean itself. The nymphs faltered, their voices dipping, their courage tested by its unyielding darkness. Poseidon steadied them with his voice, deep and calm. Harmony endures where light cannot. Encouraged, the nymphs lifted their song, sending warmth spiraling into the cavern. The sound carried, echoing softly, as if the walls themselves remembered their melody. A low hum answered, faint yet real, a voice of stone and tide. The nymphs gasped, then sang higher, weaving joy into the rhythm of their song. The abyss resonated, its silence no longer empty, but alive with hidden voices. Schools of fish joined, their movements rhythmic, their scales glowing like shifting stars. Corals pulsed faint light, opening as though touched by the dawn after endless night. The cavern glowed faintly, shaped by harmony, a temple of the deep itself. Poseidon lowered his trident, his pride quiet yet unmistakable. "The sea speaks when given reason," he murmured, "and today it chooses song." The nymphs' joy filled the cavern, their voices carrying laughter through the current. They no longer feared the dark, for it had revealed its beauty. The silence was not an enemy, but a vessel, holding echoes of forgotten harmony. Poseidon turned, his eyes alight. "This is only one chamber. The sea holds many more." The nymphs nodded, their courage unshaken, their voices still bright and strong. The current shifted again, carrying their melody farther, like a message to the unseen. They swam onward, their song lighting the way, a flame carried into uncharted depths. Behind them, the cavern pulsed gently, holding their music like a promise. The abyss did not close, but remained open, as though awaiting their return. The nymphs looked back once, their hearts swelling with wonder, then pressed on. Poseidon's trident glowed brighter, marking their path like a star in the endless dark. The silence followed, but it was softer now, a companion rather than a shadow. Together, they moved into the unknown, carrying harmony into the heart of the deep. And somewhere beyond, the sea prepared to reveal yet another secret, waiting to be awakened. The sea grew calmer as their journey neared its close, the abyss no longer heavy, but quietly breathing. Poseidon's trident glowed gently, its light steady, no longer needed as a shield, but as a companion. The nymphs swam close, their voices soft, carrying a song that felt like dawn breaking across water. Every note shimmered, not to conquer the silence, but to live within it as part of the deep. The ocean around them pulsed faintly, as if grateful for the gift of harmony shared. Creatures followed at a distance, their glowing forms weaving patterns like constellations in the sea. The once feared abyss now shone with gentle life, awakened not by command, but by kindness. The nymphs' laughter danced through their song, lightening the shadows with warmth and wonder. Poseidon watched them, his pride quiet, knowing they had grown beyond fear into true guardians. Their voices carried through hidden caverns, leaving behind echoes that would never fade. The deep no longer resisted, but embraced their presence, as if weaving them into its story. The nymphs had given the sea not just song, but courage to remember its own beauty. Poseidon lowered his trident, letting its glow fade, for the harmony was enough to guide them. They swam upward, the weight of the deep easing as currents carried them gently toward light. The silence followed, not as emptiness, but as a friend resting quietly beside their melody. When they reached the brighter waters, the nymphs turned to gaze back at the abyss. They saw not darkness, but a canvas alive with flickers of light and hidden promise. Poseidon spoke, his voice low and steady. The sea remembers when we sing with truth. The nymphs nodded, their hearts full, their voices still carrying threads of the deep's reply. They knew their song would remain below, a living echo within the heart of the ocean. And though the journey had ended, the harmony they created would ripple far beyond. The waves above carried whispers of their song, soft as lullabies sung by the tide. Sailors would hear it on quiet nights, mistaking it for the wind, never knowing its source. But the nymphs would know, and Poseidon would know, that the sea itself had spoken. The silence of the abyss was no longer feared, but honored as part of its strength. It was not absence, but presence, vast and patient, a keeper of secrets now touched by song. The nymphs swam in circles of joy, their laughter ringing like silver bells across the water. Poseidon's eyes softened, his duty fulfilled, yet his heart stirred with hope for the sea. For harmony had proven stronger than force, and gentleness more lasting than power. As the last notes faded into the current, the ocean sighed, vast and eternal, but changed. The nymphs looked upward, ready to return to the shores, carrying their tale with pride. Poseidon followed, his trident silent, his strength now quiet as the calm after a storm. Above them, sunlight pierced the waves, painting the sea in gold, as though blessing their return. The nymphs sang once more, a farewell to the abyss, a promise to remember its hidden song. And the sea answered with a hush, soft and deep, a farewell of its own. They emerged into the open ocean, where sky met water in endless embrace. The air was warm, the wind gentle, carrying the last echoes of their harmony. Poseidon turned to the nymphs, his voice steady. The sea is not conquered, but befriended. The nymphs smiled, their hearts lifted, their journey a story to be told forever. Together, they swam onward, their laughter and voices mingling with the waves. The silence of the deep remained, but no longer empty. Alive, listening, waiting with peace. And in the eternal rhythm of the ocean, their song became part of its heartbeat forever.